We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices, I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum, and it is a good evening to Barry, George, Darren, Pablo, Alan and Tom. And of course to you at home. No game this weekend, international weekend. But quite rightly, we will say well done to the lads who turned out for all their teams, but in particular to Anthony Gordon, Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall for their England performances, all starting yesterday. First time that's happened since 1997. And an amazing feat, really, for Newcastle and Eddie Howe and his coaching staff to get the players to that level where they're competing on a regular basis for their international team. So, Stephen, yeah, you read me mind. That goes without saying. Well done to the lads for doing that. Okay, tonight then, Barry really inadvertently prompted how I was going to start the show by sending me his first spreadsheet for the transfer window. 34 players linked already before January has even arrived. Incredible, really, but shows the enthusiasm amongst the press for Newcastle United's transfer window, which is imminent. So my question is, after the improvement in Newcastle United's fortunes, I'll say, rather than performances, fortunes. They've obviously had a couple of really good wins in the Premier League and progressed into the quarterfinals of the Cup. Has things changed? Newcastle United, of course, were a few weeks ago, the focus was on bringing a right winger in, potentially bringing a centre-half in, of course. You know, the much-maligned chase for Mark Gahey in the summer is something which, had us all enthralled and then frustrated. But the big question is, has it changed the panel's mind as to how they would tackle this transfer window? Bear in mind, summer, once the January transfer window closed, is just around the corner. Newcastle have players coming back. We don't have Europe, so less chance of an injury list like we had last season. And the way that Eddie set things up, especially in the midfield with Joe Linton now going out wide, and we have the returning Joe Willock, who's in great form. We still have Tonali as well, who can come in if anyone's injured. I mean, we seem to have got it boxed off. So is that right wing situation as important as it was a few weeks ago? And can the back four manage until the summer window? Do we really need to be making replacements there? So, Barry, fittingly, you are sitting in pole position after sending this and giving me the idea of what I was going to ask the lads tonight. How do you feel about the transfer window in January? What would you like to do? What would you like to see? What's our priority as far as Barry Hogan's concerned?
I mean, for me, the defence has been talked about so many times. I think, especially if Botman's as close to being back as the stories are, I'm not concerned about a centre half. today, Steve, the focus seems to have been on potential strike partner for Isaac. The two names that have been bandied about today is Osherman, the big Nigerian who plays for Napoli, but who's on loan at Galatasaray, and strangely enough, Isaac's Swedish strike partner for the international team. Both players which are linked at between sort of 60 and 70 million pound each. I mean, Osherman's, we were just saying before that, Osherman's goal record is absolutely tremendous, but he can be a little bit of a loose cannon at times. I know one guy described him, he's a bit like Tino Asprilla. He's sort of got that mentality where he doesn't know what he's going to do. So how do the players who's playing alongside him going to know? But he does bang in the goals regularly. He's quick as anything. So for me, I'm just hoping that one of these, it's going to be horrible to say with Wilson, but I would write off Callum Wilson. I don't want to be sitting once the transfer window in January shuts and hope Callum Wilson stays fit at the end of the season. And I don't think the young lads doesn't seem to have Eddie's trust. For me, a solid lesson. He doesn't seem to get enough game time where I thought he would come in and he would be playing on a regular basis. He would be coming off the bench. He would just, Eddie, for some reason, doesn't seem, whether it's the whole scenario from last year that he's going to very, very slowly bring him in. So for me, I would love to see us go after one of these guys, boost up the attack. I think we were just talking before there about the right midfield as well, and obviously that's been a major issue. But then has Eddie solved it himself by sliding Joe Linton, the man who can play anywhere on the pitch? He's turning into Stevie Watson, where he's going to play pretty much everywhere apart from playing goal. But yeah, it's fascinating to watch. I mean, I had an absolute dread because I saw one story today where it said Newcastle interested in free transfer offer, player released from contract. Newcastle and West Ham were looking at him, and I was thinking, oh God, who the hell's this? And it said Newcastle has shown an interest in Paul Pogba, and I nearly choked. I nearly choked when I read the story. So I'm hoping like mad it's not him, but I'm just flabbergasted, Steve, like you say, that it seems to be picking up so quickly.
Rather sign Paul Daniels.
It's halfway through November, and we are being linked with all the players that we were in the summer, and a good sight more as well.
Okay, Barry, cheers. Keep that list going. George, what's your feelings then? Ian's just joined us. Good evening, Ian. What's your feelings with regards to the transfer window? Have the priorities changed with, the change in shape, change in formation, change in positional play? Has your mind changed in what you would like to see coming in?
Not particularly. I think there's business about people watching my programs. A couple of weeks ago, I forget which program it was, I was asked this about should we look for a centre forward, and I said, well, there's two in my mind I would look at, and one's the Brentford guy, member over the column, and the other one's Jesus from Arsenal. 2 days later, Brentford put a 50 million release clause in member's contract, and Arsenal started to negotiate with Jesus for a new contract. So, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is that there's one position I would like to see covered better than it is at the moment, and that's centre forward. We cannot. I'd love to see we get another half season out of Callum Wilson because he's a class act, but we can't hope. If we hope, we'll be down the pan on the basis of one player. We got caught with it last year, in my opinion. We don't want to get caught with it again. So I would be looking to cover centre forward. After that, some of the things that have happened in the last few weeks have been quite a revelation. Willock's fit again, and what a difference he's made. And he and Joe Linton on that side have formed quite an astounding partnership, which has taken a lot of the pressure off the wing situation, because we all know that Anthony Gordon is quite happy right across the forward line, from right to left, even down the centre. And despite what the press keeps saying, whether he's unhappy this, he's unhappy that. Anybody who watches that cross that got the goal scored the other day, you'll see if somebody who really knows what he's doing on the wing. So we the pressure's been lifted for me on that, and the people coming back. We now got the prospect of we're centre half coming, Botman coming back. We've got young Miley's back. He was playing for under 21s this week and played very well, I understand. So, there's lots of things happening, and we've got a bench that can affect things now. Which is, if we'd had that last year, we would have still been in the Champions League, in my opinion. That's where we fell down. But as regards the priorities, my priority would be proper cover at centre forward for Isak. The notion that it might get his partner from Sweden sounds like a good one to me as well. There's nothing like playing with people that you know, and he seems to be quite a character as well. So priorities haven't changed that much for me, I'm afraid, because we've got cover. I mean, Lloyd Kelly isn't my best pick at the centre back, but when he's been given the opportunity, he hasn't let us down. I mean, I thought he was brilliant against Chelsea. He made 4 essential blocks, which some players would have dived out of. They would have ducked to miss the bloody ball. He dived into it, which shows a great deal of courage and football now. So Kelly's, I wouldn't say he's my first choice, but he'll do a job when he's needed. And the way in which Eddie's picking young Alex Murphy now on the bench regularly, I don't think he's far away from a debut as well. So I don't think things at the back are quite as desperate as they were last year. So my priority would be centre forward. That's the way I'd be looking.
Darren nearly went white when you said Murphy there. He's all red with anger, one of the two. Now self-appointed spokesman for the Murphy fan club. Darren, have things changed for you?
Yes. I still think we need a centre half, and we need a right-sided player. But I think we're going to sell a player. We either get rid of Amron or Sean Murphy, and get rid of one of them too. And you need a forward. So we need 3 players really. So, but the most right-sided centre back, I think, is the most important one, because I don't think Shaw's been that great this season. He hasn't done any great performances yet, that's what I believe. But again, I badly think we need a right-sided winger instead of a forward. I think Eddie Howe will go with the gamble and wait till Wilson's back and he's fit again. He'll stick with the 3 he's got up front. So I think we need 2 players. We need 3, but I think we'll get 2. But one's the right winger, one the centre back. So for Shaw is unreliable this season, and you need to get rid of Amron or my mate Murphy. Get rid of them. So, and I just want to say hello to my little Tilly. I know she's watching, so hello Tilly. We're going to kick off now.
Hello, Tilly.
Good stuff.
Right, that's it, Steve.
Tom, priorities, have they changed in the transfer window for you?
No, I don't think so. Oops. Yeah, no, I don't think so. The injury to Kraft hurts because he was the backup to both the center back and the fullback position over there. So I know that Eddie likes to have players that have flexibility that can play multiple positions. I think right now Jacob Murphy is our backup right fullback. So which I'm sure Darren is pleased. Be rooting double hard to get to keep Tino safe and fit. So and across the front line, right winger and forward. So if you look at what we need, it's kind of what we needed before. When we looked at Gay, he could play multiple positions, not only either side as a center back, but he could. I think he's also recently played as a holding midfielder, so he has some flexibility there. Mbeumo, or however you spell it, Mbeumo, thank you, is gives you flexibility both at the center forward and as the right wing spot. With Wilson, with Joe Linton playing over there, it takes a little bit of that need away. But as a center forward, I agree 100% with George. If Isak were to get hurt, then we're really, really hurting. So can he, can't say his name. Wemo, can he play the center forward position? We saw it. We saw that Gordon has played it, right, as a backup. I think that Joe Linton can still do something there. He's not the same player that played for us in that position before. So I think Eddie's going to be looking at flexibility. We have to sell some players. I think Trippier may be on the way out. I think Wilson could be on the way out. I think Miggy could be on the way out. So we had $50 million to spend in the summer. I think we might have another $30-40 million to spend on top of that. So we could get 2 players if we do that. I think it'll be 2 players to give us flexibility on the back line, flexibility across the front line. But I am dying to see what this window does, because you could make a case for a really powerful center forward, maybe to work in partnership with Isak, like the Swedish lad does, Carries, or however pronounce his name. Or you could really elevate the back position and really get the Gay or someone like that could really elevate the right back position. So whether he goes for flexibility, whether they do more than one, I think 2 signings probably make sense. And with the new regime back looking at talent, looking at players from across Europe, I think that is going to shake everything up. So I'm dying to see what happens. I think we'll probably go for some flexibility on the front line. I think we'll get a younger player that can play multiple positions on the back line. And I think we'll keep some of our powder dry until the summer.
Kevin, thoughts on the the transfer window in January? I mean, would Newcastle go back in for Gahey, do you think? I mean, it was such a long, drawn-out, attempt last time, which came to nothing, and then, a lot of embarrassing backwards and forwards from their chairman to our club via the media. I guess it's down to the player where he wants to go. But what's your thoughts on the transfer window as a whole?
Well, it's going to be a difficult one, just like my weekend. I'll just say that. No, it's good. January's always difficult. Players are generally going to stay where they want to stay until the end of the season, in my opinion. It's going to be a big ask. I wouldn't go back in for Gay, who had the opportunity and stumbled, fall, and fell flat on my face and showed our arse to the Premier League. And that doesn't work like that tonight, in my opinion. I think it'll be possibly 2 or 3, but I think it'll be more on the youth side. Obviously, there's certain European law and rules and restrictions when you can sign players, bring players in for certain age groups. But the main one really, but I just look, he's got a foot injury. I'll go for Semenyo. I'll go really chase hard after him, because I think he's got really all the attributes what we're looking for. He's got build, he's got pace, he's got power, like a Joe Linton, but with maybe a few more goals in him. But yeah, so again, we'll see what, we're not applying a lot of pressure onto Paul Mitchell. He hasn't even got his feet wet yet, really. But again, he seems like he's doing his job from the outside looking in, with this young Albanian lad who seems like a bit of a coup. So we'll just see what happens. But I think if we get not free agent market, but low markets, and see what happens, and maybe an option to buy at the end of the season. It's like a right winger, right-sided centre half, and really it's the centre forward. Really, for me, that we really need to look at and bolster there. So, yeah, I don't think there'll be too much. If we get 2, maybe 3, I think that'll be a decent window, better than previous. We'll call it that.
Okay, better than previous. What's your thoughts on this one, Ian? The transfer window, has your priorities changed?
It can't be much worse than the previous 2, can it?
No.
They've been god awful. Not backed out at all. And through, I'm not saying that was been done on purpose. Just we haven't backed him really with anything. So that's the first thing I want to say. We need to try and get rid of some of the dead wood. I read a report that we wanted 15.5 million for Miggy, which I think is a fair price, to be honest. But if we have to drop that a little bit to get anything back in, I probably would say yes, because he's definitely out of Eddie's sort of vision now. He's hardly getting any time on the pitch, so we're better off cutting our losses with him, for me. Yeah, and we've seen that Joe Linton can do a job, although it's not ideal for him out there. He can do a job and cover there. We've got Darren's favourite still, obviously, as well, and We've got plenty for the left-hand side and that can switch on to the right. So I think, for me, the most important thing is get a centre forward who isn't off with a broken nipple every 10 days for like 5 months and then comes back for a game or two. And he's absolutely, for me, I love Callum, but he's not fit to play the game. Not at Newcastle now. I think if he went somewhere that played with less intensity, it'd probably suit him better. But what we want from a centre forward, he can't give us. So for me, if we can get anything for him, I'd get it for him. And if he can get himself even running around, someone probably will take a punt on him if they need goals, So that's where I am with it, really.
All right, Pablo, thoughts on this impending transfer window? The reason we're asking this tonight is obviously Barry's list has started. 32 players linked with Newcastle, and it's only 18th of November.
Barry's Christmas list has started, Lapland is where you send it to, mate, with some of them, because we'll never get them. Right. No, it's not changed for me in the sense of my dream wish as of start of the season would be another goalkeeper, because we don't really have anything that pushes Pope currently. We're waiting for Pope to drop clangers and then someone might get a chance. I would like someone really to push him. And then we'll see where he is mentally, because we question his mental state or his decisions. So centre back has always been on my wish list, purely for the fact that our back four's aging. So whether that would be, and by the way, I don't think these are going to happen in January, because I think we'll get one, because we're going to have to go big on something, and I think that's going to be a striker. But centre back for me, certainly in the next window, 2 windows, needs to be a priority. As aforementioned, Fabian Schär, for me, I think he's coming towards the end at very, very elite Premier League football. As regards the midfield, the problem we've got is that we've picked up in form. So if you'd have asked us this question 3 or 4 weeks ago, we'd have probably written you a Christmas list of 11 players. Now the squad has started to show us its capabilities and what Eddie's capable of. The good thing is we've got a lot of stock, to use a Christmas pun again. We've got a lot of stocking filler players that can jump in various positions, and the front three's ticking, the midfield's ticking at the moment. So for me, the January window is over. You get January tax, and we're going to get Newcastle tax. So if we're talking about we've got 60, 70 million to spend, people are mentioning players like Yorkes and the Osimhen. I don't want to sound daft, but I think if Osimhen's got offers on the table from around Europe, where we are currently, I think other clubs would nick him. I don't think we're that appealing to him. Now, that's me looking at from a football side. As a biased Newcastle fan, of course I want him. I'd have him all day long. But I think we'll miss out on players like that. So we've got to then be looking at, like the guy from Brentford, the Mbuemo. You've got me saying it now, Tom. But I think we'll go, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way without dribbling on, is if we are going to add to the squad, it's got to be a first team player. We may as well tank the 50, 60 million on someone who's going to be in that starting 11, or at least challenging Isaac or Paul or a centre back. And I think the window after, then we're looking at replacing your Trippiers, your etc.s. So down the spine's my short answer, mate.
Down the spine, Alan, thoughts on this transfer window? Have your priorities changed, or are you still wanting the same players?
I'm wanting the players that majority of people have said on the show, lads. I think it's desperate that we need players. I slightly disagree with Kevin. I think we will go in for Gahey again, because after the England International last night, I think we would have 3/4, as one of the comments said on the chat, the England defence. I really do think the instinct tells us we'll go in for Gahey again. I agree with Pablo. I would love them strikers like George says, because I think we're desperate. We're one injury away from our season slightly falling apart, because if Isaac gets injured in the next 5 or 6 games, where they're all winnable games on paper, lads, I just think if Isaac got injured for, say, a month or 2, we would be snookered big time. I know one of the comments Denise mentioned about Willock, but he's going forward, his flexibility, but he's not a natural goal scorer. That's the only thing with Willock. He's not a natural goal scorer. But I think we're desperate. A question to the lads as well as yourself, Steve. If we don't sign anybody, Will it just mean the Saudis are starting to lose interest because this will be like 3 windows that we wouldn't have got anybody? So it's a worry, and I really would like to have 2 major signings in this transfer window. I know Kevin and everybody says it's difficult, but we have had some top quality players like Woodgate, Gordon, and the like in the January window. It can be done if you get the feelers out. And of course, we need the deadwood out the door. I think Miggy, Wilson, like Ian said, we all love him, but his time's come. I mean, people say, George mentioned about the back line, but you've got to remember, lads, Shaw's 33, Trippier's 34, Burns 33. They will all need replacements. So I think we need Gahey in, to be honest, because then you're starting to look like as though we've got a very young defence going forward. And it's always a question about getting players in before the other clubs, like Pablo said about the two strikers, Man U and all of them are already Arsenal. Arsenal are desperate. I mean, every day there's a rumour about Isak going to Arsenal. Arsenal fans are desperate for Isak to join them. And obviously the lad from Porto. So, yes, the idea of the transfer winner hasn't changed, Steve. We desperately need a right winger. What about Rafinha from Barcelona? Is that too far-fetched? You never know. But we need that type of quality. We need, like Pablo says, in my eyes, 2 quality to get certain starters for the first team and push on. And then it'll make a statement to the rest of the league, lads, because when I go on all the odd podcasts, not one person says Newcastle's going to finish in the top 5 or 6. Not one, because we've stagnated in the transfer window. That's what they make it. Even though there's 10 teams fighting the 3rd and 13th, not one pundit says we're going to finish in the top 4 or 5. So to get that going, we need 2 new players in my opinion, Steve.
Okay, good stuff. We will be back after the ads and another question for the panel.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website is mrvickies.co.uk. Email them info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Congratulations to them on their Travel and Tourism Award 2024. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And don't forget, we are also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. If you get the time, please hit the subscribe button. It does do us a big favour. Hit the like button, which is the thumb under the video. That helps the channel grow. And click share to share to your other social medias. You can also hit the join button and become a member. Some dates for your diary. In aid of Newcastle Cat and Dog Shelter, the Long Sands play the Clooney. That takes place on Saturday, January the 4th, 2025, with support from Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets pre-sale are £15 from newcastlelegends.com or from the venue direct. Peter Beardsley will be doing a talk-in at the Tyneside Irish Centre. That takes place on the 10th of January. Tickets are £30. VIP tickets are £60 and you can get them from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with the entertainers takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle on the 24th of January. Kevin Scott, Steve Watson, Steve Howie, John Beresford, Rule Fox, Peter Beardsley, Rob Lee, Keith Gillespie, Liam O'Brien, Darren Peacock, Paul Bracewell,
Lee Clark and Killer Kilcline are all going to be there with Gibbo, and you can get your tickets from the box office 0191 243 1171 or the website Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Lee Clark will be at the Gateshead Leisure Centre. That is on the 31st of January, and tickets available from the Leisure Centre 0191 250 5066. Les Ferdinand will be at the Newcastle O2 City Hall the 6th of April 2025. That is a 12 o'clock start until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And Will Scott's book on the entertainers is out now. £18.99, over 380 pages, and a lot of unseen photographs. You can buy that book now from newcastlelegends.com. And we do have some fanzines remaining. If you want to buy an NUFC Matters fanzine, issue 1 is still available, again from newcastlelegends.com. And please take your time to flip onto our other channel, The Word on Blake 7. Please hit the subscribe button and help that channel grow.
And we are live tonight on The Word is Blake 7, covering episode 6, series A, Seek, Locate and Destroy. So don't forget, if you're into that, jump on and give that channel a subscription. And it's Pop Go the Weasel in Tom's house in America. His dog's just eaten a weasel and then spewed it up on the floor. So Tom's had to go away and clean it up. He's put it in an envelope though, and he says he is going to post it to Barry. So Barry, you've got something to look forward to for Christmas dinner, mate. Anyway, Barry, this next batch of games takes us into the first third of the season will almost be over after these games. So, who's been your player of the season so far, Barry?
Ooh. I think you've got to go with Hall, Steve. I think Hall's just played out in the whole fact that he's managed to work his way into the England team. And like we've said on here so many times, he could be the England left back for many, many years to come, because there's nobody anywhere near the quality that he is. I didn't really expect it. I know other players have played good games here, there and everywhere. And I do love Tonali, who I think has been like a new signing this season. I think I just wish he'd get a bit more game time. But yeah, that would have to go with Lewis Hall.
Lewis Hall, George, any different player from you?
No, hard to disagree with Barry on that one. I mean, if you remember all the anxiety we had about Young Hall not getting a game when he first came, and Eddie was being accused of keeping him out for this reason and that reason. Well, whatever the reason was, Eddie's proved himself right, because since he come in, he's been absolutely incredible, and he has something which England nearly forgot the other night. I couldn't believe it when they picked a side with the right footer at left back with Young Hall sitting on the bench. How stupid can you be? He got on, he stayed on, and he started the other night, and he wasn't out of place. Even in an international match, he wasn't out of place. So Young Hall sneaks it for me. We've had good displays from Tyne on the other side as well. Outfield, Gordon hasn't been at his absolute best, but he's still been a massive threat. And anybody that doubted his ability and skill just needs to look at that Isak goal again and look at the cross and how he set that up for himself, really, in many ways. So there are lots of players who've contributed, and you can't talk about contributions to players of the season without talking about Isak. He scored again for Sweden this week. You know, that's a 5 or 6 games in a row. He's hit the back of the net. It's a good habit to have, and I think another couple of games and it would be Isak that would be the player of the season. But at this moment in time, I'm delighted that it's a young fullback in Hall. He's certainly making a name for himself. We could have the England fullbacks could be the Newcastle fullbacks for the next 10 years, the way those two are playing, and at their age, it could be incredible. And if we did go back and got Gahey as well, we could have this. They could have the back three in the England team from Newcastle United, which would be fantastic. I know some people might not welcome it, but it's amazing what having that sort of quality in the team and around the ground does for the rest of the squad and the rest of the players hanging around. Having been on the fringe of it myself, when players I knew got sampled in the first team, and you come back at the next time to train and think, well, that's got to be me next week. It does put the pressure on. It really does. But Young Hall is the short answer so far.
Okay, Darren, I've got a little sneaky suspicion the initials will be JM.
It's got to be Murphy, does it? I'm joking.
Who's your player of the season so far? I know it's early days. I mean, 11 games.
It's got to be Lewis Hall. For the first time I agree with Barry and George in a long time, so it's a full house. Lewis Hall. I don't think if Eclax hasn't been. Yes, he may score a couple of goals, but I think he's been disappointing so far this season. But no, it's only one person, Lewis Hall, outstanding up to now, and hope it continues for the rest of the season.
Okay, Lewis Hall, 3 votes for Lewis Hall. Tom, are you going to make it 4?
Nope, I'm going to buck the trend. I'm going to say Joe Linton is my player of the season. I think part of our defensive, the reason that Hall can play the way he does, I mean, he's very much on the front foot, but every time that Joe Linton's on the other side, he helps Hall. He helps on the defensive side. He's terrific in transition to bring the ball up the pitch and help to. He's the only really player that we have that can hold up the ball in the top half of the pitch, and then his flexibility to go on the right side or play the right wing does that too. So I can understand 100% why the 3 gentlemen before me said Lewis Hall. He's been fantastic, but for me, Joe Linton has been the complete package, and I would think Eddie appreciates without a doubt that he has someone that he can slot in anywhere and that can do the job. So I give it to Big Joe.
I need confirmation now on how big a weasel is. Somebody in the chat said, "Aren't weasels massive?" Is it big? All right, Pablo's doing some kind of rave downstairs, like he's doing a big box, little box, cardboard box. How big is the weasel, and how big is the dog, Tom?
Well, the dog is a Labrador, so he's a pretty good sized dog. Weasels aren't that big, but weasels come in different sizes. They start out very small. This was a young weasel that I think that my dog is named Bear Bear. I have to say why he's called Bear Bear. When we got him, he had testicles the size of his head, and I called him Bear Nuts because they look like bear nuts. But Susan, my wife, didn't like that, so he's called Bear Bear. So Bear Bear rules the roost around the property here, and he got himself a little weasel.
All right, well, there we go.
A little weasel, but big balls.
I've been said before.
Classic. Kev, keep an eye out for these weasels, mate. There might be a couple creeping around your place. Who's been your player of the season so far?
I would have to go along with the consensus of Lewis Hall, but I agree with where Tom's coming from and with Joe Linton's impact that he has. Talking of impacts, you got to look at Harvey Barnes with his goal contribution, but that's not a starting player type of. So yeah, I'll go Lewis Hall. I think he's matured, learned, and then ultimately developed and put it into practice what the coaching staff have been banging on to him about what he needs to do, and he can drop into midfield. He's a bit of a traditionalist, but he's a kind of a modern day fullback at the same time. He likes to get forward, but he can also defend on the other hand. So I'll go for him just for right now. Obviously, that form's temporary. Class is always permanent, essentially. So if you can continue that further down into the season with consistency, excuse me, then I would give it to him just over Joe Linton.
Is it fair to say, before we come to Ian, is it fair to say that positional change, putting Joe Linton out on the left, helped Hall immensely? Because, the last few games he's looked unbeatable. Hall, he seems to have grown in confidence. The early part of the season, there was times where he was giving the ball away. He was under pressure, but maybe the positional change has been massively beneficial for him as well as Newcastle United. Kev?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's protection defensively. I think Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. There's a slight delay.
Can you hear me? My internet's pretty poor. Okay. Yeah, it's this coverage of from Joe Linton's work rate and Joe Willock's work rate, what they possess. I'm not saying Anthony Gordon doesn't do that, but with, say, others in midfield that don't give him that protection. And I think he's been very beneficial of that from, with, like I said, Joe Linton and Willock, and maybe Tonali, because he's more that defensive-minded idea. Not so much Longstaff because he plays on the other side. So, yeah, it's helped him massively within his growth because he has more confidence when we have the ball, when we don't have the ball, and he's got trust in relationships with those players around him.
Okay, great stuff, Kev. Cheers for that. Yeah, internet issues are something that unfortunately we always get with on this show. Jules says, have I been gifting internet connections again? Yeah, it's sometimes me, sometimes other people. But never mind, we got what Kev was talking about there. And David, you're right, agrees. The triangle of Hall, Willock and J7 is great. Very similar, it has to be said, to the triangle we had on the other side with Bruno, Miggy and Trippier. It's very, very similar, except it's on the reverse. So Eddie Howe, not the first time he's utilised three players in that kind of way. And yeah, we're definitely reaping the benefits of that. Ian, player of the season so far, we've got 1 vote for Joe Linton and we've got 4 votes for Lewis Hall.
I've got to go Hall as well for me. This has been excellent. Obviously, the time that was spent with him last season on the training pitch, not chucking him in at the deep end, and just Eddie's coaching's brought out a really, really, really good player who could end up being a lot better because he is still only a kid, you know. Joe Linton, yeah, I've had a few issues with Joe Linton early on in the season. I don't know whether you can remember. I had a big rant about him.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't put Big Joe up there because of the starts of the season he's had. But I do think, like, you know, the last handful of games, the last maybe 5 or 6 games, he's really come good for us. So he gets mentioned. I want to give Dan Burn a mention as well, because everyone writes Dan Burn off all the time, and I think obviously we know it turns like the Zeebrugge ferry is not the quickest. You know, we know that, but you know, he reads the game so well that he can get away with that a lot, playing in his proper position at centre back.
Is this because you've met him? Is that because you've met him now? You're his best mate.
There's that as well. You know what I mean? But no. I think considering he has been he's been our best centre back this season for me. Definitely he's definitely been our best centre back, and I would go as far as to say, considering how well he's been doing, it's a shame that there's a good possibility he won't actually be getting a start after Christmas, because when Botman comes back, it might not be happening straight away, but I can't see him keeping Botman out if Botman comes back like the Botman we knew before he was injured. But yeah, I think they've all done, considering the hard start that we had. We weren't playing well but getting results. Then we were playing well and not getting results, and it's all sort of clicked now. I think if we can keep everyone fit until January, sign a couple of players, I think we're on the right tracks again now.
Okay, great stuff. Pablo, thoughts on your player of the season so far?
Tough one, this, mate. If you'd have 6 weeks ago, if you'd have asked me to name a player of the season, I said none of them. You know, it was like that. And I say that because there was no cohesion. They all looked like they were underperforming. And for me, looking back into that period, there was no standout performers. But fast forward, you know, to the last 6 weeks, 2 people stand out for me. And obviously Hall's one of them. He's come on leaps and bounds. And I'll be honest, I was questioning probably at the start of the season, and I think I mentioned it on here, is this kid up to scratch? Foolishly, you know, I said that he is up to scratch and he's come on leaps and bounds. But for me, Isak coming back, whenever we have him up top, there's a chance of a goal. And obviously recently he's been sticking it in the back of the net, and that shows quality. And I think, I mean, what more can you do? You know, you're a striker, you put the ball in the back of the net. So for me, you're going to ask me to name one, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Give us the one that you stand out at the moment.
I'll follow suit and go Lewis Hall. I've got a quick question for you. Just can we have this question? I was going to Google it, but I was going to save it for the panel tonight because there's some knowledgeable people above me and next to me. So in the commentary last night, they were mentioning 3 Newcastle players in an England team. That hasn't happened since 1997. I hope lights have gone. Now, I was trying to rack my brains to that era, and I'm thinking, obviously, Big Al's one of them. So in 1997...
No,
Rob Lee and
David Batty.
It wasn't. It was
David Batty, sorry.
David Batty, not Beard.
Rob Lee. Yeah.
So I got the David Batty, I got the Shearer, and I was thinking, was it? And I was thinking, I'll just save it for tonight because people will correct me. So we're done. Sorted. But yeah, Lewis Hall.
Rob Lee and Batty.
And before that, it was 1992.
Yeah. Well,
was it?
Yep.
Who was in the 92?
It's the one and only time that Beardsley was one of them, I think. Fullback, only played once for England. Burridge.
Not Burridge.
The midfielder, I can't remember. Not Burridge. Beresford, sorry, Beresford. Yeah, Burridge was the goalkeeper. Yeah, Beresford. And come on. Anyway, it was 1992.
We'll have to check that one because I don't think Beresford got capped for England. He might have got picked, but I don't think he got capped. I think it was Venison, as Mark Byers has suggested.
That's it. Venison, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
That's
Alan.
it.
Last but by no means least, slightly shorter show tonight. I've got to jump onto this Blake 7 podcast. But yeah, Alan, give us your player of the season so far.
Well, it has to be Jacob Murphy for getting on the pitch, doesn't it?
Hey!
Like the lads say, Hall's been a standout. And like Pablo says, there was none a few weeks ago, but seeing the results have turned, Hall's been a standout, hasn't he? Joe Linton's been immense in midfield, like Tom says. Special mention to Dan Burn as well, like Ian said. You know, them 3 players have all contributed really massively. And basically, long may it continue, lads. So, all for me, keep it going. Let's hope we get a good run in the next 5 or 6 fixtures and we can be right up there in the league, lads. And win the Brentford Cup game and we're sorted for Christmas, lads. Semi-final.
That's it.
Be looking good.
That's all we want. A place in the semi-finals would be lovely. But great show tonight. We will be doing a fans forum next week, but it will be slightly earlier, 5:30 till 6:30, so everybody can get a chance to get sorted for the game. So fans forum next week, 5:30. I'm back tomorrow, 1:30 live with Talk of the Tune with Sid and Rob. Until then, take care. See you later, guys.
Take care, lads.
Cheers, lads.
Yeah. See you, boys.
See you, everyone.
See you, boys.
Hi, George.